Alison, it's wonderful to have you here at Scripps. After the redesign of this whole area approach to the art building and the Ruth Chandler Williamson Gallery, we reinstalled your 2007 bronze statue of Swing Low Harriet Tubman Memorial, which is a smaller version of the larger sculpture in Harlem, New York. It was originally dedicated, as you remember, here at Scripps on March 10, 2010.
Right, which is when they celebrate Harriet Tubman. They don't know when her actual birthday was, but that's when they celebrate her, and so that was so appropriate.
That is her day. Well, we are so grateful to you, Alison, for donating this work to Scripps, and also to Jackie and Clarence Avon
absolutely.
For casting it.
Right, which was fantastic. So it was a nice way to get the piece in the collection, which is really thrilling. So.
Well, thanks to you, and we'd love to hear more about the history of the piece and your experience making it.
Okay,
So,
thank you, definitely. Yeah, the piece Swing Low was commissioned by New York City and was to be situated right outside in Harlem. And it was specifically to be a memorial to Harriet Tubman. And at the time, I think she was going to be one of the first public New York City-owned sculptures of a woman that was not, I think they had Alice in Wonderland and Mother Goose. They had a female dog, but they didn't have any women. And so it was really exciting to have one of the first, female monuments that was part of the Parks Department. And to have it in Harlem, where I worked at the Studio Museum, when I first moved to New York City in the early 80s. So it was kind of an area that was really kind of true to my heart in some respects, similar to the way Scripps is, having been a Scripps graduate as well. So the way it worked is basically you make a maquette before you do the full monument. So she is basically scaled 1 inch to a foot. So if you want to multiply her 12 times. What she is here is a little over, 12 inches, and I think the actual sculpture is 13 feet tall. But I really wanted to talk about Harriet beyond, as we all know her as the guide to the Underground Railroad. And so, I wanted to kind of portray her as both feminine, so she's wearing this long dress, but also that her strength as a woman to be able to do these amazing things, and almost to kind of pun off of the idea of the Underground Railroad and make her feel like an unstoppable train. And so her petticoat, which you think of as being feminine, lingerie, basically becomes a cattle catcher to kind of push aside all opposition. And then in her skirt we have casts of faces of her passengers and some of the things they would have brought, pipes and medicine things. She was also a healer, a holistic healer. And then just different things they would have been able to bring and carry. So these are basically what's kind of inside of the thing. And then also in the back, she has these roots. And it's to kind of dually symbolize kind of herself uprooting. Basically, she left her entire family, her husband at the time, behind when she first escaped to the north. And then eventually she was able to come back and free many members of her family. But so to kind of talk about her personal uprooting, but then also to talk about her role in uprooting the system of slavery, not only as a conductor on the Underground Railroad, but also as a nurse in the Union Army and as a spy for the Union Army. And then later on, she, basically opened an old folks home for freed slaves that helped, freed slaves find work, but also help them when they were kind of too elderly to continue to work. Because she was illiterate, I really wanted to be able to have this sculpture be read by young and old and people from all over the world. And so I interspersed these tiles that are kind of looking like classic freedom quilt patterns, interspersed with these kind of little portrayals of different stations of her life, starting from her birth and ending in her death as you go around. So you see these little tiles and you can see the many faces and facets of Harriet Tubman. In Harlem, we had to, she's facing south, and I think it was really interesting because people were saying, well, this artist doesn't know what she's talking about. The Underground Railroad went north and all of that, but I'm not really, this isn't a piece about the Underground Railroad. It's the piece about Harriet Tubman, who went south, I think 13 times, constantly putting herself in risk of being recaptured and really wanting to really capitalize on her compassion and her drive to constantly risk everything that she has to help others.
Hello, my name is Lynne Thompson, and I'll be reading the poem Swing Low Free for Scripps College. Swing low, free. As scout and spy, nurse and train, swing low. I went back south over and over and brought them out. Massabrodus tried to sell me. He failed. I turned runaway after, fled north and flaunted rules men made to foil our liberty. Led my kin, ma and pa, from the land of black-eyed Susans. I could not save all who bled my blood, but I led multitudes from Bucktown to Cambridge, Camden to Blackbird, trusted in Bakongo Mojo, Nkezi, Makalo, relied on Hosa charms and the Igbo's blue and white codes hung from oaks, on doors, on countless quilts along the way, their patterns staring us north by stitch, shoe fly, log cabin, bear's paw, wagon wheel, sweet swinging from porticos in Dover, in Smyrna and Odessa, our field guides to the Choptank River, a cipher of bedclothes draped for an uppity Moses. Oh, sweet chariot! I would live free or die. When I took the freedom and looked at my hands, I knew I had to be the same breaker of laws in Newcastle and Wilmington, Chester County, and beyond, where I brought them up, brought them out, to the eastern shore, where Almighty Jehovah was troubling the waters of slaveholders who named me Araminta, slave drivers who put a bounty on my head. Descended from Ashanti, I remembered Anansi, West Africa's trickster, followed the drinking gourd and stole away to Jesus on Whirlpool Bridge, Canada, where I looked over Jordan. I had help, Fred Douglass and William Still and many Quakers who were almost as good as colored and could be trusted every time to burn bright the candlelight in their garrets. Always I went back, died March 10th, crossed over, free. Today I am lauded and immortal, roots of struggle stitched on my bustle, faces of unnamed risk-takers, tatted on the skirt of a scout, spy, nurse, train, a woman singing, we mean to live free.